my
But
psychiatrist.
how many kids have been thrown on that scrap heap of he's just a naughty kid, oh he's violent, oh she's and you think what's made this child? Because children aren't born messed up, it's our circumstances, isn't it? And what
It's our
is
circumstances. I would say I wouldn't use that as an excuse. I have seen some things where actually, circumstances for me, I could have gone one or two ways. I don't want to make myself sound like a saint because I'm definitely not, but I could have gone one or two ways, and I wanted to make something of my life and make a difference instead of just going, yeah, well, this has happened to me. I'm just going to go do what I want now. But with a young child that's had not even someone, parents are so close to us, they're supposed to love us unconditionally. If you haven't had that, that's going to cause massive issues throughout your whole life.
yeah,
And social workers coming and going, that's going to cause more issues because then the question comes back to them and their mental health going, I'm obviously not good enough. They just don't want to be around me. So that's when the other issues start to crop up. And that needs to be considered so much. My psychiatrist is banned from my pathway plan meeting. He wanted to come. He was banned by the she was the director of the leaving care team at the time. Really wasn't a nice lady. But yeah, she banned him. But he turned up. He opened the door and just barged his way in. He proper fought my corner and my parents' side and made sure that they listened to what was right because I was going to die. Otherwise, I'd taken so many overdoses. I'd just put myself in such a bad state that I was very close to either being put in hospital for the rest of my life or very close to dying.
Joe, can I?
So,
Sorry to cut in, but can I ask a bit more about your family? Because a bit of that relates to me because I have a disabled daughter, and I can't imagine what that was like for them having the son kind of whisked away into this place. Even though they probably thought it was going to help, it's still a really scary thing. Have you talked to your family about that since?
yeah, I talk to my family on a daily basis. They've got massive involvement in my life, and it's something that needed to be done to help me. But I can't, from a parent's point of view, it's such a
It must be
scary thing.
terrifying. Yeah.
And I think there's so much fear not seeing what's going on, but also I was a lot of the time left to my own devices. To the support, the care just wasn't there. So it was very scary for them. I feel awful for what I've also put my family through. I think the reality of mental health and something that we need to realize, and that it's okay. You shouldn't beat yourself up a lot for it. You should be remorseful. My mixed personality disorder, when that finally got diagnosed, instead of just bipolar and a load of different diagnoses when I was 16, finally at the age of 18, I could be diagnosed with the proper condition that matched that I actually had and go on the right therapy. I was loopy when I got out of the unit. I was hallucinating. I didn't know what was going on, and I used my social media accounts as a way to kind of torment my family, and I can't apologize for that enough, and there's been a lot of building bridges. It's been so hard for them to watch and for them to understand. They're never going to have that first-hand understanding. Like, I'd love to be able to go, this is what it's like. I wouldn't want them to understand because what was going on inside my head was just, it was horrible beyond words. But they'd obviously want to understand, and they had to deal with the brunt of that as well. But I'm very lucky; they are very supportive. They are by my side, and we've built those bridges. Yes, the memories are still tough, but that's a reality of mental health. As bad as it might be for us, there are people around us as well that it does directly impact. And that also causes more trauma and more problems for many people because you feel bad for that. You want to beat yourself up. You want to do all these things to yourself, and yes, feel bad, feel guilty, but it's not something that you can help. Don't use it as an excuse to say, "Oh yeah, I was doing this because of mental health." But a lot of the time, it's not your fault. There is a reason for it, and again, this is why we need more awareness, more conversations, and more actually just a stark reality. Don't sugarcoat things. Let's just all be open and talk about it. Doesn't matter who you are. It's not a weakness in itself. Just being honest and talking about it is a massive strength, and it's going to stop you from reaching that breaking point.
Well, that's why we started this, to get from GB boxers to doormen to window cleaners to jelly stackers, saying, it's all right. You sometimes go home and have a cry on the settee, or sometimes you have a panic attack. Doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're human. And I think more us guys talk about it. And I think that was the best lesson I learned, because I grew up thinking I was broken. Who'd ever want me? I'm broken. Then you realise we're all broken in some ways. Maybe we disguise it a bit better, but we've all got our downfalls. That, I'm too fat. I'm too good looking. They only want me for this. Once you break it down and realise we are all human, that was the best thing for us in the world. And we're all bloody different. Thank God we're not all like me.
Thank God we're not all like me. It's a bit mad. But that's what makes the world a great place. Things are a bit messed up at the moment. There's a lot going on around the world. I'm not even going to get into politics. I'm just going to keep it COVID friendly. But
I wanted to mention something, Joe. Sorry to interrupt you, but we're talking about like positive people in your life, not that psychiatrist who barged in there to save you. How did you form such a good relationship with him that he was going to jeopardise himself?
Do you know what? It was him and I had a couple of CPNs. My first one, my community practitioner nurse, he was great. And I remember the first time he just said, "You need to stop being it was a C word."
So-and-so.
Honestly, yeah. But I was shocked. I literally, I didn't speak for 15 seconds. But from that moment, just someone being a bit more informal. Yes, he followed all the right policies, procedures, but for someone just to understand, just have a conversation, not make it like it was a depressing subject all the time. He was serious, but he would have a laugh. Like, humor would be my way of dealing with things. And he was so good at finding out who that person was that he was in therapy with, that he was helping. And then
I think that skill can't be taught, though. I think you either are that way or you're not.
Yeah, exactly. But he also had a background in mental health.
Yeah,
it was that first-hand understanding, which is something that we should just have in the mental health service anyway. Like, just anyone who might have any diagnosis, just get them safeguarding trained, get them trained up to help people. Peer-to-peer mentoring is such a great tool, and we need to utilize that. Especially, you could get volunteers in. I'd happily volunteer every day a week, a couple of hours after a full work day, if it meant that, one, it was free and easing the pressure on the NHS, but it would genuinely help people. And that was the same as my psychiatrist, Dr. Chad Lavardla. I could never say that name.
I was going to say, it's easy for you to say.
No, he was amazing, and he just got down the level. He was a very calm person, but he knew his stuff. But he wanted to involve my family. It wasn't me going in with my mixed personality, maybe saying this one day and another thing the other day, and then someone taking just me and basically putting my family as the blame. He wanted everyone involved, because he wanted to help me and get me to a place where I understood myself, my condition, how to handle it, and how to live a happier life. And he fought my corner. It was the last time I ever saw him when he came into that meeting, because he moved, unfortunately. And
you couldn't write his name on a letter.
honestly, I'd have no idea. I'd have to search. I've probably got it somewhere amongst my many medical notes. But no, he was amazing, and without people like that,
yeah,
I don't know where I'd be now. But
it's amazing when these people come into your life, isn't it? And that one person can send your life that way to the good or that way to the bad. And thank God, them good people, steer us in the right direction.
Yeah, and they kept me grounded. This has inspired me to do more of what I do today, to link everything with the bullying in. And like I said, the social media side of things. Like, I went from a nobody to, I've just shut down my other Twitter account because there was just so much rubbish on it. But that was the Twitter account. It went up to 148,000 followers, and it was mad. And even my Twitter now, I've just started that off at 15.7 thousand and 64,000 on Facebook. It added up, but it was so overwhelming, going from hating myself, being a nobody, to people knowing me. And I had to utilize that in the right way. And what I try and do is, yes, talk about what I'm going through. Like, I had a cry the other day when we were put into lockdown. I just had a meltdown. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to deal with this. I know I'm not
you were
alone.
the only one, though, mate. You weren't the only one.
Oh, I knew I wasn't, but that's such a helpful thing with this whole situation. There are so many people in the same situation, so it stops some of that feeling of isolation. But I'm in a better position than a lot of other people that might be out there. But I wrote about it on social media because a lot of the stuff that I put up, it might seem to many people that, oh, I just don't struggle. I live a nice life. I don't struggle. It's nice and plain sailing. And I had to say that. Like, I know it may seem this way on one side, and it's like looking on Kim Kardashian's Instagram or whoever you follow. They looks like such a glamorous life and perfect lifestyle, but actually behind these computer screens, behind my post, there is trauma, there is hurt, and there's real struggles. It's not just because I post this. I am struggling too, but I want you to know that because it's okay, and because I'm a man and it's okay to admit I am okay. So it got other people talking about how they were feeling, and that's the aim. If I can, it's not talking about me necessarily, it's putting out quotes and doing some check-ins. And instead of having these helplines are great, like Shout are amazing. I love texting them if I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed, but on social media are all on it. And because I'm safeguarding trained and I do all the other things that I do with the charity, having my inbox is open, it feels a bit informal, even if it's just for a chat, a rant, or even if you're worried, stressed and anxious. Hopefully just having that there might save a life. And we just all need to be there for each other right now. Well, not even just right now, all year round, every year, just checking in on each other because it's so important.
Well, at the start of the first lockdown, I really thought this is what the world needed, because we were all in together and you'd be shouting over your next door neighbour going, do you need any bread? I'm going down the shop. Or do you need some milk? And then it only seemed very short-lived. Within 2 months, it was...
No one talked to each other.
Yeah, like, you'd walk down the road, you hadn't seen no one, and you'd go, you're right, John, or you're right, Bert, and you'd be there talking to a complete stranger for half an hour because you were both lonely. Great. Now, this one, you walk up, people almost try and shoulder barge. It seems like we've taken the kindness and we've just thrown it out the window and put loads of frustration, hate, and who can I take my bad mood out on?
Exactly. And, it's the first lockdown for me. I worked day and nights back to back, pretty much 7 days a week. I got half a Sunday off. My way of coping, it got to a point where when I had these jobs and I loved doing them and I didn't know which one to give up, it was routine. especially with the autism. Like my routine is key. It's key for anyone, but when it was broken,